Hi, I'm Dr. Neil Payne.
And I'm Kirk Lyons, and this is All Things Confederate. Well, Black History Month is here.
That's right, it's official. February is the History Month for Black people.
Well, and we're here to talk today about one of the most important aspects of Black history around here, and that's our friend H.K. Edgerton.
Well, we thought that this show being All Things Confederate, we should mention Confederate aspects of Black history that you probably don't know, but we did want to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the March Across Dixie, where H.K. Edgerton led out from Asheville, North Carolina, and walked all the way across the South to Austin. Now, what was the reason for the march?
Well, at the time, the plaques were still down off the Supreme Court building in the state of Texas. Then Governor George Bush had removed the plaques in the middle of the night. The Sons of Confederate Veterans and Denny Sweeney filed a lawsuit that we authored and prosecuted. And HK wanted to send a message to the now President Bush that was unacceptable, and so he felt impelled to put on a Confederate uniform, pick up a Confederate flag, and march from Asheville, North Carolina to Austin, Texas, a total of it was about 1,600 miles.
Right, yeah. That was an amazing thing to do, and it was amazing the sort of things that he found out along the way. His brother Terry Lee has published a book about the March Across Dixie, which you can contact us for more information about. It's a picture book. It's a very nice book that has pictures from the march and some text and about explaining what was going on. During that march, HK met many Black people who came out of their houses and brought artifacts from the war where their ancestors had participated in the war.
He found in Georgia. He found a Black Confederate bridge builder, and his descendants proudly talked about that. And there's just all kinds of people. A lady in Meridian, Mississippi, Black woman, that started marching up to him, and he figured, oh, what's going to happen? And she says, "You got my flag." And she took the flag and carried it for a while until, she had to go back to her work, which is what interrupted her when she saw HK coming down the road.
That's right. Well, there's hundreds of stories like that in that epic march that HK made, and it just goes to show that not all Black people think alike. I know that may be a shocking thing to you to realize that the black race doesn't have just one brain that thinks one thought about the Confederacy. There are many people in the Black community that understand what's going on, that understand their Confederate history and heritage, and are very proud of it. And so we thought we'd point some of those things out for you today.
One of the things that if you're looking for resources and information on the Black Confederate experience, the SLRC has a Facebook page called Black Confederate Historical Resources, and there is a pretty complete picture of the known images of Black Confederates photographs. We actually have a series on actual photographs from slavery, pictures of slaves that have come down through the years, a section on Black mammies and their charges, which there's quite a few of those have survived. And so there's a lot of information there that if you're starting to look into this subject to see what is it about Black Confederates, that's a good place to start. Black Confederate Historical Resources on Facebook. And of course, SLRC has a Facebook page too, where we can discuss these things. And we hope that you will get involved with this issue. And we'll be happy to be your guide.
Now, when I first heard about this subject about Black Confederates, I sort of dismissed the idea. I'd never heard of such a thing myself, and it seemed rather preposterous to me. But I have since come to see all the different records and evidences of Black support of the Confederacy, slave and free, and we have pictures and documentary evidence of that, and it explains to me something that I never really thought about before. But there was never any slave uprising during the War for Southern Independence, and that had been their perfect opportunity if they had had a mind to attack and destroy their masters, their oppressors, as some people want to put it. But it didn't happen because by and large, I think that the black people in the South considered the South their home. And when the Yankees came in, the Yankees were attacking their home too, and so they banded together with their masters and the free blacks to defend their homes and the Confederacy.
And you find that there's a lot of the internet fighting on the black Confederates. A lot of the antagonists to this position want to say that there was only a handful of blacks that supported the Confederacy, and the proof of this is that they did not fight in the Confederate Army. And there's somehow it has become an argument about whether blacks that were in support of the Confederacy were soldiers or not. And I think that that is a complete sideshow issue that we don't need. It's not necessary. It is a red herring. Historically, yes, were there many Confederate black soldiers? No, there was probably only a very few. But without the black support of the Confederate effort, it would have ground to a halt in the first year.
Exactly.
And our definition, I think, is a little more expansive and I think fairer to the history that we're dealing with here. And our view is that if a freedman or slave on a plantation or working in a harness shop, a factory, or whatever their job was during the war, if they were loyal, if they did their job and supported the Confederate war, and that, however humble it may be, they can claim themselves to be a black Confederate. They are a subject. And a lot of people don't realize that not everybody are citizens back then. Women were not citizens. They were subjects. Children were subjects. Slaves and freemen did not have voting rights or civil rights or constitutional rights then. They would be subjects of a Confederate state. And so their descendants have just as much right to be proud of that service if they wish as any white person does. And so, yes, they were Confederates. And in that definition, yes, there were slaves that ran away, went to the Yankees, sometimes by force, sometimes not. But in that regard, looking at it, there are millions of black Confederates that were loyal and stayed loyal. And if their descendants want to be proud of that, that's their descendants' right to be proud of that fact. And they shouldn't be castigated for it. So that, to me, simplifies the issue a great deal. I don't think, and the other thing, of course, is, they say, oh, well, they were forced to go. Well, yeah, some of them were made to dig ditches and trenches and things like that.
And the white people were forced to under the Conscription Act.
And a conscript is not free.
That's right.
In my view, if you take an oath to serve an army or be a member of an army and it's under compulsion, in other words, you go to jail or you get shot, that's a compelled oath. It's a coerced oath. It is not a valid oath. And so, really, a conscript, a draftee, doesn't have that many more rights in the matter than a slave. Exactly. So if we're going to say that he doesn't count because he was compelled, well, anybody compelled in the army shouldn't be able to count either if he's white.
That's right.
If he's a draftee.
And it makes it's an important issue for the fact that I think that if black people understood more about this aspect of black history, and if it were brought out in February, the Confederate side of the black experience, that they would there wouldn't be such a knee-jerk reaction about the Confederate flag. Right. They would look at it as something that their ancestors saw as an honorable banner and one at which they gained a lot of respect from the white people because of their support and their service. When you look at the United Confederate Veterans reunions, you see many blacks who came to those reunions at great cost during that time. It was difficult to go to those reunions because it was expensive, and yet they were there, and they were there with their medals on.
That's right. Talk about Frank Powell's book.
Yeah, we have a premium that we're offering to people who join the SLRC for $35 a year. If you join up now, you'll be receiving a book, The Lincoln, the Way the South Should Know Him, I believe is the title.
When Nathaniel edits it, he'll put it up there on the screen.
Nathaniel put you a picture of it up there, but it's a very interesting and informative look at Lincoln, about somebody who lived during the war and whose father was a soldier during the war. And he talks about Lincoln as the South should know him, and not the idol that has been set up for people to worship him. So if you'll contact us and send us your contribution of $35, join and become a member of SLRC, we'll be glad to send you that as a premium for joining.
And for you members that are already joined as SLRC members, we'll send you the book for a minimal cost of $5.
Right. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll bring you another program next week.
Thank you. Goodbye.